Little testorino. Let's see what happens. If you can see me and hear me, let me know. Starting fresh today. I'm going to talk about some things related to harmonica, obviously. Using OBS, which is what this test is all about. If you don't know what that is, it is a software that allows you to stream and record and do other things, but it's, it's different from using Zoom, which I would normally push through my desktop. So it's something different. That's all. So good morning or good afternoon or whatever it might be for you guys. I don't need these on. I'm not listening to anything right now. Let me see if I got audio. Yeah, it's coming through. I can hear it on my phone. So it's been a minute since I've been live. I have no idea. Really, I'm just on here testing some OBS, but I do have a B-flat harmonica because I was at Todd's class, obviously hosting the Folsom Prison Blues class. What a great class that was. I don't think we need to change any audio settings. Does that sound okay to you guys? Let me know in the chat. Welcome if you're here live. One thing that we talked about in class that was very helpful was Todd broke down the details of the chug. This chug that's used as support rhythm pretty much you can play that throughout the whole song mostly, was really helpful the way he broke down the articulations. And that's something that you can go deep into when you're learning about rhythm playing and chugging. He was talking about things like thicka, any kind of tongue articulation to get that chord to really pop. And I don't need these on. What am I listening to? Nothing. So that was kind of a cool thing to explore. And really his approach, I can just share it with you, but his approach to Folsom Prison, which he's really great at approaching these classic songs, had a lot to do with learning how to manipulate the melody. So, playing the melody to the song for the solo section, but making it harmonica friendly, which was really cool. And we had a blast, and it was great. So if you did go to that, thanks. And if you missed it and you want to catch it, go catch it. Become a member on Harmonica 123 and you can catch it. So good morning, people tuning in. What do you want to talk about today? Sometimes I wish I could just tune in, live stream, and have like really thoughtful questions coming at me that starts and sparks this conversation that makes this much more organic. It makes it so that we're truly being spontaneous versus me pre-preparing at least an idea, jumping on and teaching you that. Yes, I can do that. I can still do that. But what I really want to know is what's on everyone else's mind. That's what I'm most interested in. So I said this, but this is a B flat. Ronnie, could you play some 12-bar blues improvisation to inspire us to pick up the harmonica? Yeah, why not, right? All right. Little 12-bar blues to wake up your harmonica brain. So welcome again if you are here tuning in live. Pretty lax stream. Usually my brain is kind of turned off after either teaching a class or kind of running the behind the scenes of these classes. It takes a lot of my little pea brain power. I have to actually focus and do a lot of things that wipe me out sometimes, but I want to connect with you guys, and I haven't been on in forever, and shame on me for not tuning in sooner. What can we talk about, though? Hey, good morning, Nick, John. Sweden Harmonica, welcome, welcome. So again, I've got this B flat in my hand. I can tell you one thing cool coming up is Joe Falisco's joining the platform next month. I'll just quickly give you the date on that. It's in a month from now, approximately. The 17th of May, he's going to be talking about the secrets and sounds of Sonny Terry. Who better than Master Joe Falisco to teach one of his all-time favorite players, Sonny Terry. He's really good at teaching and breaking down the layers of the artists and their sounds by examining one thing at a time and then showing you how he puts it all together. He's very, very, very good at that. Todd did a great job today. Todd was more than prepared and was crushing it today in the class. We had a blast. So I'll tell you one thing that's been on my mind a lot is things related to the chugs that I was just talking about. A lot of the chugging that we're doing in Folsom Prison is more percussive, but there's a lot of cool rolling chugs and rhythm stuff that I've brought up on this channel many times, but it's worth repeating, which is besides learning how to kind of improvise and do what I did in a 12-bar fashion and just create at will and use the template of the 12 bars to follow, is just chugging. Oh, it is good. Okay, glad to hear it. So just chugging alone and just sort of working on what are the other rhythms and chugs that go along with things outside of country rhythm and chugging. And one of my favorite things is this idea of taking a riff and putting the chords right around it, right? So I'm going to just teach a little piece of that real quick. I'm playing a 3-draw lifted from like a microtonal bend up to 4-draw and 2-draw. So just get that riff. You can glissando, or I like to tongue block the 4 and pucker the 2. And then you get these chords, which I make it sound easy, but I know it's kind of tricky. So I want to talk about that. What can you do to get that to come out smoothly, right? I don't know about the aspect ratio of this video. I'm not going to go deep and get distracted right now by that, but that's one thing I need to figure out is the aspect ratio. I'm not going to do that now, though. I can tell that it's just kind of zoomed in on my face. I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't know what will happen if I extend these little red lines. What does that do? Careful, dude. Careful what you're doing live streaming here, changing all these settings. I'll have to mess with it next time, but I can tell that this camera's kind of zoomed in on me, although I can adjust it through here. So you got the riff down? I can move on from that. And what you want to do is land on a blow chord next, because that blow chord is going to give you that exhale that you need, right? Because you've been breathing in. So twice on the 1, 2, 3, 4, or even just 1, 2, 3 blow. Real gentle. And then a quick inhale. And what does all that get you, right? What do you get after you've done all of that? You can even do blow, blow, draw, draw. I'm just kind of saying hoodoo, heedy. So hoodoo on the exhale and heedy on the inhale. So maybe that becomes like a 1-chord portion where you can then just depart and riff. Here's something interesting that happens when you work on this approach to playing 12 bars is when you're not using any of the rhythm portion or the chords, it's really up to you to keep time. It's always up to you to keep time, right? But like, especially when you don't have these chords available to you and you just go riffing, you really need to be locked in. So if you leave that, all that needs to be buttoned down tight. So the simpler the idea, the easier it will be for you to lock in the timing as you are just riffing. Does that make sense? Does that make any sense? Man, I'm tempted to mess with all the background and the video stuff. Don't do it, man. There's a side of my brain that's like, just don't do it. Don't get lost in that. You can stay focused on talking about harmonica and deal with the fact that the aspect ratio might not be perfect. Okay, so what else is on your mind? Then you'd be on the 4. And anything you want to play that occupies 2 measures is, if you got 2 measures going on, you're in good shape, is what I'm saying. Oh, I'm doing it. Don't do it. You guys, I can't help it. It's like throwing a kid in a candy store and saying, just don't touch any candy. You can look around a little bit, but don't touch it. You're not allowed to eat any candy. No way, Jose. I can't do that. Not me. Hey, DW, thanks for subscribing. Yeah, I try to just come on and talk from the heart about all sorts of stuff related to blues harp and my journey and technique. And sometimes we break down some licks and songs and things like that. But I really rely on these live streams. I rely on a lot of your input, everybody, and what is on your mind. And the more people that are in the mix, the better, because we get thoughts and ideas and questions from different brains, different people at different points in their journey, which to me makes it really interesting when we can learn from each other. That is when it gets exciting. I know the audio's got to be better than Zoom. Using OBS, the audio just instantly is going to be better because there's not any compression or gates or whatever you want to call it that sort of squelch or compress the sound like Zoom does for sure to a degree. Okay. What else you want to talk about? Look, this is like having me consider this a group private lesson. It's your time. If you don't ask questions, I can't help you. Yes, Mike, you did just see me in class. We're just hanging for a little bit here. I do have some other stuff that I need to take care of, but I had not been on in so long that I was just dying to come see you guys. So I thought I would just jump on here and say hello. Let's see here. Settings. No questions. You know what's going to happen. I'm going to get distracted, you guys. Here's something cool. I'll share this with y'all. I was going to make a whole separate video on this. The natural minor harmonica. Maybe I should save this talk. But I want to tell you something cool about this harmonica. It's a harmonica that I've been sleeping on for years. And it's something that I've definitely played with this harmonica before. I've used a natural minor, probably 16, 17, 18 years ago. I did one video, but that was the last time I probably picked one up. Literally, I just don't play them. I tend to just play standard Richter tuned harmonicas, and I will play various positions that contain minor scales, like a lot of people do. But why would you want to get one of these? How many people? Let's see in the chat how many people have a natural minor harmonica, or have maybe you've considered getting one. There's 3 scales that I want to point out that might really help you guys. And then we can talk a little bit about relaxed shoulder tips. That's a good one, Dennis. I like that. All right, we'll talk about that, DW. That's a good question, too. So let me just mention why you might want one. I'll keep this very brief because I might just do an official video on this topic. I think it's such a cool thing to think about. So if I drag these red lines, this is not going to change anything right now, is it? Cancel. Okay. What happens if I do that? Does that change the aspect ratio? I don't think it does, Ronnie. Just chill. Okay. So the chords, number 1, on a Richter tune, you're not getting any minor tuned chords if you don't buy a minor tuned harmonica. The chords will always be major like this. But now, You get these minor chords, the draw and the blow on the bottom. And that's kind of nice. Actually, it's more than kind of nice. It's huge. And there's a reason to own at least one of these. You know, if you're going to get one, maybe, this is a Marine band, by the way, Marine band natural minor. Maybe just get one or two keys where you think, these are keys that I would probably want to land on. You treat it just like cross harp, at least for now, that's what I'm talking about. Where if I'm holding, which I am, a natural minor in the key of A, that would put you in E minor. Just like if you're on an A, you play E major on your standard tuning. And the three scales I'm going to recommend, and this I'll leave it at this. If you transfer a blues scale, a minor pentatonic, and one other scale that I couldn't figure out, Todd wasn't sure either. I was talking to Todd about this today, and we were like, you know, we got to connect with somebody else to find out what happens when you take a major, maybe somebody knows, when you take a major pentatonic scale on a standard tuned, let's say you grabbed a regular A, right, and you played the major pentatonic. What happens when you play those exact notes on a natural minor? It's not a minor pentatonic. That would sound like this. And the blues scale. And then there's this thing with that I just pointed out. Those three scales are the way to go for second position. I'm not prepared for this business. 90%. This is it. MacBook Air 3. Thank you. Connected to iPhone. No. No, 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 no. Please don't do that. Battery 90%. Connected to. Where's it coming through? I don't even have it running. MacBook Air 3. All right, well, I'm muted, so nothing can happen for a minute. You guys can still hear me okay, I'm assuming? All right, so here's something you can do with it. This is going to be interesting. You know, who knows what I'm getting into here. I'm just waiting for the other thing to come through and bleed through. Oh, yeah. Cool. No need to flat that 3 draw at all. There's no need to do all sorts of cool stuff or challenging stuff that you would have to do on a standard. They're good. That's a natural minor. I'll do a better video where I go through it and talk about the notes that are adjusted, something a little more proper. Let's talk about a couple of things that were brought up at this point in the stream. I divert back to the chat. Relax shoulders. No, tips are just, you know, being aware of it. Play in front of the mirror, get in front of a video, you know, record yourself on video so that you can see what you're doing. And you're reminded when you do things like this, that that's not helping. Or if you're doing a lot of this when you play, that it's the chest and you need to be still. That shows you that none of the chest is getting involved. It's really coming from the diaphragm. But really, it's just what you said. It's reminding yourself to just relax. And it's not, once you relax the shoulders, it's actually a very good body part that you brought up. Because then you start to relax the rest of your body. It goes both ways, I feel like. You can have tension in your body, which creates a mental distraction, or you can be distracted in your mind, which creates physical tension. I think it can happen either way. And so it's a state of mind, really, for me first, of just being relaxed, and that reminds my shoulders. That's what I got for that. I mean, there's probably other good things you could share. Is it true that tongue blocking creates a better tone? Not in my opinion. It does create a big tone. I don't think it's better. It's all right if you can only do octaves at this point. Back to the B flat harmonica. There's a different B flat. It's okay if you can only do octaves to start, and then you want to get into single notes and all this good stuff, and then you can think about more advanced tongue blocking. But a little bit goes a long way, and yes, it does create really big tones. So maybe if we took that as a general statement, like, hey, tongue blocking gives you the biggest tone, my argument would be, okay, well, if you're going to say that, first of all, it depends on the player. It does. I'm sorry. It just does. And their experience and their approach. But then it's also like if you took the best pucker tone and the biggest sounding pucker tone and then the biggest tongue blocking tone, they should be pretty close in sound. What you can't get by puckering, folks, this is why you want it, is the effects of the chords. All this kind of stuff, yeah, that if you call that just big tone. But if I just go 2-draw, which one sounds better? They're about the same. Sorry, that's just what my ear is hearing. Maybe you guys have a different opinion, though. So what can you do? Work on the single notes. Try to get the single note on the side of the mouth, covering up the holes. I've got some good videos on YouTube you can find for that. Well, that's a good one. How can you make like single note melodies more full sounding and more fun? Octaves are a great way to start with all that stuff. But then, I would say bringing in all the other technique, the ornamentation of the dirty notes and the slaps and all the things the tongue can do, of course. But dirty notes are good, vibratos, all the coloring of that the technique can bring in is the answer to that. Like you're playing a melody all single notes, it gets pretty drab. You'll get very, it just feels very flat, I guess is a good word, right? Flat, real clean. And actually it's a great way to practice when you're learning melodies to start off. Then you can bring in a little tremolo or vibrato, dirty nose, octaves, warbles, things like that. Yeah, the vibrato is going to help a lot. Pick and choose your moments. Don't overdo the vibrato or else it just gets overused. And people don't pick up on that emotionally as much as you would like them to. And you'll lose connection to it emotionally if you always do it. What is up, Fernand? Good to see you here. Hey, don't worry about that. If your tongue blocking is weaker than your pucker playing today, it's something to work for. Just work within the realm of your ability. Don't try to tongue block things that are beyond you. Start with a very elementary approach to things that you've mastered with the pucker, but now you're just trying to grasp it with tongue blocking and play it as the best you can. That's a good one. Think of the words you'd like to be singing. People hear it in your playing. Yeah, I mean, especially if you're playing the melody of the song or you're going to use it to feed off of for the solo, that's a great tip, for sure. There you go. Those are a couple tips. The hands are one of my favorite ways to shape sound and add color to not just melodies, but just anything I'm doing, whether it's improvisation melody or something, in the back. I really like this idea. And they can be brought in as a layer on top of these other techniques like dirty notes and octaves. So play around with the hand stuff a lot. It's something I worked really hard on over the years to get control over that technique and approach. And it just took a long time. So don't get discouraged if you're not hearing it. Keep working on it, trying to make adjustments. Well, you don't need to tongue block 1 and 2, but the answer is tongue switching. So the answer is, instead of the tongue going to the left and playing out of the right side, or the tongue kind of just takes a little bit of an angle that way. There it was. It's ugly. I don't use this approach, but it's called tongue switching, and you can go back and forth. That's me doing 2 and 5. And what I'm doing is the tongue's like here, and I'm just wiggling left to right. So you can start to get the note clean. If I worked on it, I know I could get this much better. Just, like all of us, we need to work. If you're going to integrate it, you've got to practice it long enough to where it feels natural. So it can be used as kind of I use this technique like this. When you guys hear me playing, I'm tongue switching. It's less of the involuntary wag, this traditional kind of really fast sound that you hear guys like Little Walter and Kim Wilson do, and there's plenty of people that do it really well. I don't have that speed on that technique, so I use it as more of a tongue switch, which is a similar approach. It's more manual, I guess, of the tongue movement. But it's not super slow either, so it's somewhere in the middle, and it's effective enough to where I use something like that when I improvise as just a tonal change-up. Yeah, tongue's moving to the right. That's correct. And this is my right. And then it's subtle. The tongue still is this big blob of meat that's just kind of often against the comb, and we're trying to figure out these nuances of how to move it. Octaves and splits are played with the tip of the tongue against the comb. But when you get into higher level tongue blocking, it's this middle portion, the top of the tongue, let's call it the top, that's making contact. And then it's all about the angles and all these little nuanced things that you have to discover. These are very difficult to have a teacher, somebody just break it down and teach you how to do that. I've done that in lessons, but really it comes down to experimentation. You got to kind of fail a whole bunch of times before it starts to click. So... I noticed that today in class, Todd had a cool kind of whistle. He did a wider, like a 3-4-5, and a very gentle thing on the bend. I never play it like that. I'm always more aggressive with those train whistles, but I kind of like the softer approach. You can play the train whistle, 3-4-5, 3-4 draw with a little bend on 3. 4-5 draw, or 2-3 draw. And they all sound different, and they're all worth experimenting and messing around with. I definitely use all of them. And this isn't really a traditional train. I'm just kind of chugging. I just want to make that clear, that I'm aware that it's not like the yakataka nakataka type of style. It's just a fast rhythm that I'm calling a train. It's actually, I shouldn't beat myself up like that. I learned it from James Cotton, who calls it a Mississippi train. So it is a version of a train. That's the 3-4. 2-3. I feel like the closer to the station, the lower on the harp. And the train's just leaving. It's a little louder and robust and a little deeper on the whistle. By the time he's like starting to fade away a little bit, you're on 3/4, and by the time he's going around the bend and you can barely see the train, it's like, and it gets quieter. You got to work on your trains. Trains are such a great practice point. All right, I think that's what I got here today. You're welcome. Thanks for hanging out, everybody, for being here live. Please subscribe to the channel. Give the video a like. Become a member on my website. I've got a million things to share with you on that website, all included to members for one monthly fee. All the live classes you get access to, all of these recorded classes, Todd's class today, all the guest artist class, everything. It's ridiculous how much content you can get into. And if you're wise and you take advantage of it, you know, there's no end to sort of how you can go about using the material in somewhat of that A to Z type fashion that I've alluded to on my live streams and other videos, that I want to get into an open class that anybody can join, even if you're not a member and you've just purchased a class from my site. How would you organize it? Where to start? Things like that. So I want to offer an open to the public type of class here soon, where we can get into that. Say, well, if you've purchased these classes, they come first, then these, then these. But the song studies are really, I would organize those actually too by skill set. There's a way to do it. Most of those songs are falling into the intermediate realm, and some are more advanced intermediate. Maybe one is like, actually I would call advanced, but there's so much going on. You're welcome. Thanks for hanging out, DW, and everybody else that's been here on this stream. I appreciate you all very much. Let's just see here what's going on my little thing over here. 80s rock guitar. What does this sound like? I'm just...
Battery 90%. Connected to MacBook Air 3 and iPhone.
No, we don't want it connected to the iPhone.
Connected.
Oh, man. Take me back. So that natural minor harp is what I have in my hand. But this is terrible. I mean, I'm from the 80s, you guys, but I don't want to hear that right now. It's hard finding. Some of the harder stuff to find is these minor tracks that inspire you. I gotta say, I really do like the harmonica. It's amazing that I never, ever, I don't think I've ever, I'm almost positive that I've never picked up a minor tuned harmonica while making music live, like on stage, anywhere, in any occasion. And that's crazy, because it's just another tool in your tool belt as far as like expression. And I find it surprising that I didn't want those chords, that it didn't occur to me that maybe, because what do you do when you're playing in third position? If I were using a D harp over this, you get octaves. To fatten up the sound, but we don't get those chords, so it's kind of nice. Hey, I'm going to jet soon. Let me just catch up on these chat messages real quick. It can be the same positions, second position. I mean, you can play the minor pentatonic in multiple positions. Is the answer to that. The rest of it's, I can see you by your name, Jazz Elamander, that you know more than I do. Look, what you should know about it is that you can play multiple positions. You can get several minor scales out of it. I've read that it's not truly a natural minor. Like, I'm just playing blow dry for a minute. So you can play first position. It's a little weird. It's a little strange. Third position's there with some adjustments on the bend. You can start playing these similar scales in other positions, meaning that you would open up to playing this A in other keys other than E minor, like I've been doing. You could open it up to B minor, for example. So you can do that. I experimented with it. But honestly, I think it shines in second position where you're focused on the scales that I brought up earlier. I'll probably do another video on that. So that's what I got today. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for watching a slightly zoomed in version of me today. Coming into the screen here. I know there's a better aspect ratio to figure out with OBS, but this was about as spontaneous as it gets. And on that note, y'all make it a great day. I will see you around the next time. Thanks.